Shalom, shalom, Israel. This your boy, Brother Samuel, back again with another edifying video, right? First and foremost, I want to give all praise to the Most High God. I want to say, Kahala Yahweh Ba'Shem Mashiach Yahushai. That's all praises to the Most High God and His only begotten Son, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose real name is Yahushai, right? Blessings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? And let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about captivity, man, right? So if you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans don't know, you guys are in captivity right now, right? To this day right now, right? So let's get into it. So we're gonna start off. We're gonna go to the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and let's go to verse 8, right? It says, this is the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God. Right? So, because our forefathers sinned, we now are here in America, which is spiritually, which is called Babylon, right? Or Sodom and Egypt, right? When you look in the book of Revelations, right? So we are here this day in our captivity, where the Lord has scattered us, man, right? For a reproach, right? We're subject to payment, man. We got to pay taxes, right? We got to pay child support. We got to pay all different types of things, right? To this government, man, right? When you're paying taxes, you're in captivity, right? So let's move on. Let's go to the book of Lamentations, right? Let's go to the book of Lamentations. And let's go to chapter 5. Let's start at verse 7, right? It says, this is the book of Lamentations, chapter 5 and verse 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. So our forefathers, they sinned. They went off, right? They start following other gods. They start, just getting into all types of wickedness, man, right? And now they're dead, right? But it says now we have borne their iniquities, right? And that's what Baruch was going into, right? It says, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, that we are in this captivity, right? So let's go to the book of Lamentations, right? Salakia. I'm Salakia. Let's go to the book of Judith. Let's go to the book of Judith in the Apocrypha. And I suggest, if you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, if you guys don't have a Apocrypha, please get some. Please get it. It's very edifying. A lot of that information that's in there, I see why they took it out, because if we would have had this before, we probably would have got out of captivity a long time ago, because we would have knew who we were, right? There's a lot of edifying stuff in here. All right. So let's go to the book of Judith, chapter 5, and let's start at verse 17. It says, the book of Judith, chapter 5 and verse 17, and whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, right? Because the God that hateth iniquity was with them, right? So these heathens know. They know that if we sin against our God, it's bad for us. They also know that when we're not sinning, they can't touch us, right? Because they know that the Most High God is for us, and He'll be with us, and He'll fight for us, right? And we know that God hates sin, right? And He hates the sinner, right? Let's keep reading, Salakia. Verse 18. But when they departed from the way which He appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. So it says their cities were taken by the enemies, right? So who are these enemies, right? Let's find that out real quick. Let's go to the book of Nehemiah, right? The book of Nehemiah, chapter 5 and verse 8, right? We'll start at verse 8. So this is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 5 and verse 8. And I said unto them, we, after our ability, have redeemed our brethren, the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen, right? And will ye even sell your brethren? So this is Nehemiah, man, getting on his brethren, his fellow brethren, because they were acting the same way as these heathen were, right? It says, or shall they be sold unto us? Then held they their peace and found nothing to answer. Also I said, is it not good that ye do? Ought ye not walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies? So the scriptures is calling the heathen our enemies, right? So this is what we got to keep in mind, right? The Bible says that God's chosen people have enemies, right? So let's find out why we're in this captivity. How about that? Let's find out why we're in this captivity. Matter of fact, nope. Let's find out who these enemies are. So let's go to the book of Psalms real quick. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 83. We'll start at 1, right? So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 1. It says, keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right? So these heathens have come together and consulted, man. When you consult, man, you get together, you come up with different schemes and different plans, right? It says, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's why today you calling yourself Puerto Rican or Mexican or Jamaican or Haitian or African American, right? You're calling yourselves all these bywords, right? You're not calling yourself who your true nationality is, man, which are the children of Israel, right? The 12 tribes, right? It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, right? Edom, right? Today, which will be the so-called white man, right? The Ishmaelites, which will be the Arabs, right? Of Moab. Moab today would be the Chinese. The Hagarenes, which would be Africans. Gabal, which would be Africans. Ammon, which today would be the Japanese. And Amalek, right? Amalek today are the people who are currently in our land, man, who call themselves Jewish, right? The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assyria also is joined with them. They have helped the children of Lot. So all these nations have consulted to try to keep us away from the Most High God, to keep us away from our power, man, right? And as Nehemiah called us, he said the heathen, man, those are our enemies, right? So now let's go back to let's find out why. Why are we here in Babylon or America or scattered abroad in general, right? So let's find out. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we'll start at verse 15. Right? So it says, book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? So the Most High God said, if you don't listen to these law, statutes, and commandments which I gave you, I'm going to give you off to these curses, right? I got a whole slew of them. I got a whole list of these curses right here, right? So let's see. Let's go back to the book of Judith real quick, right? Let's go back to the book of Judith in the Apocrypha. And let's go to chapter 5, and let's go to verse 20, right? And it says, now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin. Right? So these heathen, they know that if we sin against our God, that it's going to be our ruin, Man, it's our kryptonite, right? It says, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest the Lord defend them and their God before them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So they know that they can't touch us when we follow the law, statutes, and commandments, right? When we're following the Most High God, we're following His laws, right? These heathen know that they can't touch us, right? And basically, our forefathers signed a contract with the Most High God that we would follow these law, statutes, and commandments, right? So let's prove that real quick. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, and we'll go to 29 and verse 1, right? It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29 and verse 1. These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. So a covenant is basically a contract. So basically it's saying, we signed a contract, right? Moses commanded these laws from the Most High God, and we agreed to it, right? So if you have a contract, right, there's stipulations. And there's stipulations in a contract, right? If you break the contract. So one of the stipulations when we break the contract is these curses, right? So let's get into some of these curses real quick. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28, right? Let's go to verse 32. All right. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. Right? And a perfect example of that is when we see, if you've ever seen the movie Roots, right? When Kuta got his daughter, what is it, Kizzy? When Kizzy was taken away, man, right? He had no might and no power to get his daughter back, man. We see that in slavery. We see that still today, right? When CPS comes, what do they come and take our children, right? And they give them to another people, right? They take them and we have no power to get them back, right? We're at the subject to our enemies, right? To even get our own children back, right? All right, let's get another one on here. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 41, right? It says, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity, right? So that's what happened to us, man. Our children were taken away. They were separated, right? They were taken to one plantation, to another plantation, right? They were taken, all across, scattered everywhere, right? So, and right now, still to this day, we're trying to pick up the pieces and find out who we are, where we come from, who our relatives are, right? But that's all part of the curses that the Most High God said that He was going to give unto us, right? And a lot of people say, well, that's the Old Testament, that's old, done away with, and all that. Well, let's keep reading. Let's go to 45 real quick. 46 is what I want, but let's start at 45, right? It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee, Salakia, shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee, right? Verse 46 is what I want. And it says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, right? So these curses are still happening amongst God's chosen people, man. These curses, they're for a sign, man, and a sign lets you know where you at, right? The sign is supposed to show who the children of Israel are, right? Because they're going to be under the curses, right, until the time of Hamashiach Yahushua, or who you ignorantly call Jesus Christ, comes back, right? So these curses are upon us for a sign, man. Right now we're in our captivity, right? That's a sign, right? Our children are getting taken away from. That's a sign. These are all signs to let us know who we are, right? It's time for us to wake up, right? The wool has been pulled over the eyes of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for too long. It's time for us to wake up, right? So let's get it together, right? So let's find out. So we know why we went into captivity, right? And let's find out what else. Let's go back to the book of Baruch. Baruch chapter 4, and we'll start at verse 6, right? This is the book of Baruch chapter 4 and verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemy. So our punishment was not for our demise, our total destruction, but it's because we moved God to wrath. Right? Why do we move God to wrath? Because we broke his law, statutes, and commandments. We broke his contract, right? We signed the contract and we broke it, right? And now there's stipulations. So now we got to pay for that, right? That's plain and simple, right? Plain on tables, right? So let's further explain that. Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 78, and we'll start at 59, right? It says, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 78, and verse 59. When God heard this, he was wroth and greatly abhorred Israel. So abhorred is to hate, right? So he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the enemy's hands, right? So because we wanted to start following, all these other wicked ways, all this idolatry, all this wickedness, all the things that the Most High God told us not to do, we did that. We pissed the Most High God off, man, right? And he was angry with us. So what did he do? He gave us away, right? He took us down. So now we're at a lower state, and then sent us away into captivity, man, right? Uh, let's see. Let's further. So what we got to understand is every time we went off, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, or the Israelites, every time we went off, we went into captivity. We went into slavery, right? And let's further prove that. Let's go to the book of Esther, right? Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 7, and let's go to verse 4. Okay. It says, it's the book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 4. For we were sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we have been sold for bondmen, which is slave men, and bondwomen, which is slave women, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Right? So back in the day of Esther, man, right? We were being sold. We were being sold into slavery all the way back then, right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah real quick. It's the book of Jeremiah. Some more accounts. Let's go to chapter 40, and we'll start at 1, right? It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 40, and verse 1. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord after that Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he had taken him, being bound in chains among all that were carried away captive of Jerusalem. So Jeremiah was bound and captive in chains, right? It says, we're carried away captive of Jerusalem and Judah, and were carried away captive into Babylon, right? So right now, Jeremiah was carried away into Babylon. Guess what? Right now, we were carried away into Babylon, right? This is the daughter of Babylon, right? This is what the scriptures say. This is the mystery Babylon, right? According to the Bible, right? All right, let's go to Let's find out. Let's show us that we are here in captivity right now to this day. Let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, to the curses. We're going to go to 28 and let's go to 68, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. It said, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships." So this is Moses talking to the children of Israel. They just came out of Israel, right? They walked out of Israel, right? They didn't need a ship. They walked out of Israel. So, but the Lord is saying now that he's going to bring them into Egypt again with ships. So Egypt means something in the Bible, right? So let's get that real quick. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. So this is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. "I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." So Egypt is synonymous for bondage. What is bondage? Slavery, right? So the Most High God said that we were going to go back into slavery. Let's go back to that. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, right? And it says, it's the book of Deuteronomy, back again, 28 and 68. "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships," right? Egypt is bondage or slavery. It says with ships, right? What people were taken into slavery on ships, right? In a mass amounts that's so global in the proportion that it was talked about in history, right? Nowadays they don't even teach it in history now. They don't even teach. They teach that we came over here willingly, right? We came over here willingly, butt naked in chains, and came to America and said, "Hey, we'll build it for free." Nah, man, right? So it says, "The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again." Right? We didn't see our homeland, right? We haven't seen our homeland, which is Jerusalem. We haven't seen the actual Egypt, right? We over here, right? A lot of us, we haven't even seen that, right? And it says, "And there you shall be sold unto your enemies," right? We found out who the enemies are, right? The heathen, right? It says, "For bondmen, which are slave men, and bond women, which are slave women, and no men shall buy you," right? So, in the law, it tells us that, you can redeem your brother, who was sold into slavery. But it says this one, you're not going to be bought out. No one's going to be able to buy you, right? And we saw all these people who tried to buy us out of our captivity, right? Harriet Tubman, she tried to get us out, right? We didn't even want to go then. Martin Luther King, they killed him. Malcolm X, right? They killed him, right? Marcus Garvey tried, he failed, right? All these people have failed to try to get us out of this captivity, but it says that no man shall buy you, right? The only person who's going to be able to redeem us is Hamashiach Yahushai, man, right? That's why he came on the scene and he died for us, right? And he's coming back, right, this second time with a whole lot of wrath and judgment, but he's coming back to redeem his people, right, from this captivity, right? And the thing about it is, the difference about this captivity from the other captivities is, before we knew who we were. We knew we were Israelites. We knew all that, right? But it was prophesied. So let's go to that real quick. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4, right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4. "And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knewest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever." Right? So that's why right now we're sitting here and we're calling us, African Americans, Negro, Black. We've been so many names since we've been over here, right? And we still can't figure out who we are. We couldn't realize who we are, but that was prophesied to happen, right? That we would discontinue from our heritage, right? If you see that, it says from our heritage. It doesn't say from our religion. It says our heritage. This is our heritage, right? This book is our heritage. These law, statutes, and commandments are our heritage, right? So we said that we would discontinue from that. And that's why we don't know, right? Let's get some more examples. Let's go to the book of Second Maccabees real quick. Right? Second Maccabees chapter 8, and let's go at verse 11. Second Maccabees 8 and 11. Wherefore immediately he sent to the cities upon the sea coast, proclaiming a sale of the captive Jews. Right? So even then they had the little ports, and they were selling us back in these days, man. Back in the Grecian days, right? They were selling us out here. They were selling us as slaves, right? And promising that they should have 80 bodies for 1 talent. So 10 men was going for 1 talent, not expecting the vengeance that was to follow upon them from the Almighty God, right? Because they was like, oh yeah, we already know if they sin, man, we can get them in captivity, right? We can build up our kingdoms, we can do all this stuff, right? That's that same mentality that America has today, right? Let's get that. Let's go to the book of Zechariah. So the book of Zechariah, 11 and 5, right? It's the book of Zechariah, chapter 11 and 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, right? This is the mentality of the slave masters today, right? From when we came off these slave ships, man, right? Before we was even getting off the slave ships, right? If somebody was sick, they just toss you over into the ocean, right? They had sharks that would follow the boats, that would follow the path of the boats, because they knew they would be throwing, our sick, our elderly, out in the ocean, right? But it says whose possessors slay them, and then they hold themselves not guilty, right? We just saw that recently, man. If you watch the news, the cop who shot the young black sister, I don't know if it was last year, she was getting jumped by some girls, and the cop came up and shot her, man, point blank in front of everybody, right? And he's held not guilty, right? We see it all the time. We see it happen all the time, right? And it says, and they that sell them say, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich." Right? They was making so much money off of us, man. And the slave trades, man. If you ever seen them, I recommend you watch a movie called Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom. If you watch that movie, Goodbye Uncle Tom. Watch that movie. It's depressing, right? But you need to watch it, right? It says, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not." Right? Our own shepherds, man, the people who were supposed to be our overseers or our elders, man, they pitied us not, man, right? They went along with the plan, right? A lot of them, still to this day, they make money to keep us, who not knowing who we are. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's going on, man. So it's a lot of times that we have to wake up in these last days, right? And the thing about it is, we know we're in captivity because we can't go nowhere, right? Try to leave this country and see if you can get out of here. You got to have a passport, right? And if the passport runs out, you're gonna get deported back here, right? Or wherever you're scattered to, right? Let's get that. It's the book of Jeremiah. Let's go to that real quick. The book of Jeremiah, and we're gonna go to chapter 50 and verse 33, right? It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 33. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, right? So the children of Israel, which is the so-called Hispanics and so-called Native Americans, right? And the children of Judah, which are the so-called blacks, right? The Jamaicans are who is Benjamin, right? And the Levites, right? Who are the Haitians, right? It said all of these were oppressed together, right? So let me read it again from the top. Verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast, and they refused to let them go. Right? They refuse to still let us go, man. Right? Even though they'll yell to us, go back to Africa, do all that. Right? You try to leave, they're going to bring you right back here, man. Right? They're going to bring you right back here. Right? But, all praises to the Most High God, that Uh, our captivity, man, Lord's will is starting to come to an end. We see the light. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, man. We see what's going on, right? So let's get that real quick. I got a couple more. We're gonna wrap it up. Uh, let's see. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, and we'll start at verse 1. Okay, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, and with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn that captivity, and will have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Lord thy God has scattered thee. Right? So this is what we see what's happening now, man. A lot of our people are starting to wake up and understand that they're Israelites, right? They're starting to come out of these churches that are not teaching them who they are, right? Who are not teaching them how to keep the Sabbath day, right? If you're a man, to grow your beard, like all these different things, man. But we're starting to come back and realize who we are, and we're turning ourselves back to the Lord, right? As the scriptures say, man, this is prophecy, man, happening to this day, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, right? Book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and we'll start at verse 1, right? It says, Salakia, book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and verse 1, right? The book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives who captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So it's going to come a day, man, where the Lord is going to have mercy on us, and he's going to set us back in our own land. And those people, all these people that have taken us captive, right, from the sub-Saharan trade to the to to all these slaveries that we've been in, right? It says that we're going to take those people who took us into captivity, we're going to take them captives, right? That's how the Most High works, man, right? That's how he works, man. That's all praises, man. And it says, I'll read on to verse 3. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage when thou was made to serve. Hallelujah. Amen. So this is what's happening, man. Right? The Most High God is going to have mercy on us, right? And free us from this captivity, man. Right? So this is what we're looking forward to, man. Right? That's why in the book of Revelations, it tells us, man, we gotta get out of this wicked way, man. Let's go to book of Revelations, chapter 18 and verse 4. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Right? This is talking about Babylon, man, or Mystery Babylon, or America, man. It's saying to come out of her, man. Right? That you don't receive these plagues. A lot of our people, man, died of corona, man. A lot of our people are dying of these plagues that have been pestering America, man. Right? And throughout the land. It says, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Right? So this is what's happening right now. So we gotta come out of her. We gotta come out of her wicked ways, her wicked evil doings, man, and come back to the Most High God, man. Right? By Shema Mashiach Yahushai. Right? Let's go to the book of Lamentations. Right? Let's go to the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, and verse 22. And it says, The book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 22. The punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will have no more carry thee. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom, right? And we know who Edom is. Edom is the so-called white man. And he will discover thy sins. So there's going to come a day, man. Guess what? We're going to be free from this captivity. And he's going to remember what was done to us. All the evil, wicked things that were done to our people during this captivity, right? Let me get that real quick. Let's go to, this is Zechariah 1 and 15. Right. Zechariah chapter 1 and verse 15. It says, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. Right? These people are comfortable with they're at out here in America, man. And all around where they have us captive, right? It says, for I was but a little displeased, but they helped forward the affliction. Right? So we know that when we went off, the heathen would take us into captivity. We'd be carried off in the lands. But it says they took it too far, man. The Most High God said you took it too far, right? Buck breaking the men in captivity, rape, murdering our people. That's going too far, right? That was going too far for the Most High. And the Most High remembers that, right? Let's go to my last one real quick. We're going to go to the book of Baruch, chapter 2, and we'll start at verse 29, right? It's the book of Baruch, chapter 2, and verse 29. If ye will not hear my voice, surely this great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, whether I will scatter thee. So we knew that, it says that the children of Israel are like the sand of the sea, man. It cannot be numbered. But because we have went off and went into captivity, even though it's a lot of us, even still to this day. So it's so many of the children of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Everybody knows somebody who's pregnant, just had a baby, about to have a baby, like the whole nine. Like we just keep producing children, man. But even right now, we are in a small number because we are in our captivity, right? But it says, verse 30, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves and shall know that I am the Lord their God. For I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. Right? Let's keep reading. And return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers which sinned before the Lord. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they shall be lords of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their God, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people out of Israel, out of the land that I have given them. Right? So this is the promise that was given to us, man. So we got to hold fast in this captivity, man, and stay strong, man. Stay strong, keep enduring, keep uplifting brothers and sisters in this truth, right? And we got to strive to the truth until death, man, right? And with that, I give all praises to the Most High God. I say, Kahala Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushai, right? Shalom, Israel, peace and blessings.